Are you thinking about sending in some Pokemon cards for grading? Maybe for the first time? If so, you are in the exact spot that you need to be right now. Pre-grading is a critical part of the grading process and is sometimes overlooked, especially by newer graders. I know when I first started grading cards, half of the things I look for now, I was not looking for back then. So in today's video, we're going to be looking through this stack of cards that I just picked up, and we're going to be pre-grading them to see which ones have the potential for a Gem Mint 10. We'll pull those out, put them to the side for a future submission, and then the rest we'll put to the side to just sell raw on eBay or TCG Player. If you haven't been here before, my name is Ben, and this is my channel, Houndoom's House, where we talk a variety of things Pokemon. Business, grading, hobby news, and just collecting in general. I run two small online storefronts on eBay and TCG Player that have done a combined $40,000 in sales over the last year, so I also use this channel to document the progress and the pitfalls of doing that. So I'm happy to have you here along for the ride, and that being said, let's jump into this pile of cards and hopefully find some Gem Mint 10 candidates. All right, so first card that we've got is Acerole's Mischief from Mega Evolution, the special illustration rare, and this is an awesome card. I love like the Mimikyu costume in the back room, but let's get this out of the sleeve and let's take a look at what we got. So obviously, first thing I look at, and this is, probably the most common is centering, right? Like, obviously, if a card looks to be near mint, probably the first thing you're looking at, or anyone is going to be the centering. So looking at this one, the centering looks pretty good. I like to look at the corners to kind of see like how they correlate. Like, is the right corner or is the right side of this the same pretty much as the top? Is the bottom the same as left? Things like that. I think that's just kind of a very helpful trick to see if it's well centered or not. But honestly, when it comes to centering, I really just use my eyes. Over the years, I've kind of just gotten to the point where I could pretty much get the centering right. I still get it wrong. I will take chances and I will convince myself that something's 55-45 centering when really it's probably 58-42, and that dings me, but that's part of it. But looking at this, yeah, so this looks pretty well centered, on the front, and usually 55-45 is kind of like the industry standard for that now. So I feel pretty good about this front centering. We also have to evaluate the back centering, which is obviously much more lenient and generally like 75-25. So you can get away with more on the back when it comes to centering. And this looks pretty good, back centering as well. I don't see any issues on this. So I would say centering, this looks pretty good. I feel good about it. But the next thing is going to be, your surface. How does the surface look? So with these textured cards, it's a little different. It's harder to identify any surface defects because obviously, there's a lot going on with the surface. But if you get it under some good lighting, you can generally identify anything that pops out. Especially with these new special illustration rares that are a little smoother than, let's say, like X and Y full arts, which are really grooved texture. You can generally point some stuff out a little easier on these, but this looks pretty good from the front. I found that the new era of cards generally has pretty good print quality. Let's take a look at the back. So this is where I was getting dinged for a long time, is just little dents, little indents on the back that I was not seeing. So what I like to do for the back is get under some really good lighting like I've got here. And you can generally see, because the back is completely flat, you can generally point out anything like that pretty easily. And I just run it through the light kind of like this. Just checking to see if I see anything, different angles. And all I'm looking for is any kind of like light scratch, dent, maybe a pinhole, anything like that. And this looks really good on the back as well. Completely flat. I like that. Yep, I think we're good. I think we're good from that perspective as well. So it looks like overall centering and surface on this card both look really good so far. We're going to have to look at the edges now. So taking a look, we want to make sure that these just look flat, you know, and you can see the cards bowed a little bit. That's okay. Cards just tend to bow. I have never gotten a ding unless it's like a significant like humidity bow, like it's been exposed to humidity for a prolonged amount of time. But yeah, I mean, this looks really clean so far. Edges look good. All right, we're good on that, I would say as well. So this is 3 out of 3 so far. And you know, one thing too is like, if we look at this closely, just the edges, I want to make sure there's no fraying coming from it. Like sometimes when these get cut, it'll leave kind of like a fuzz on the edge, and that's fraying, right? And I have a good example of a frayed card actually right here. This is one that I always want to grade this card. This is actually just one I pulled a long time ago. But I mean, if you look at the edge of this, like this thing's got fur like a dog, man. You know, like it's legitimately hairy. So this is something, would never send this in, right? This could be well centered. It could have no whitening. It could meet every criteria. But that thing, you know, that thing is a pet at that point. It's not a card with how much fur is on that from the bad cut. So yeah, we're going to avoid that. But this looks, I mean, really clean once again. And the last thing we're going to look at, and this is, you know, this is probably the second most common thing that you hear about, is whitening, right? So the corners, especially on like newer cards, and I mean, I guess older cards too. I just don't grade as many, and I don't rate old packs because I can't afford that exactly. But there's white dots that you'll see on the corners, you know, and like this one looks really clean. And again, that's one thing I with this current generation, you know, Mega, Phantasmal, Ascended Heroes, I'm not seeing much of this corner whitening. So this thing looks really good. Now I did get fingerprints on this, so I would, you know, like take a microfiber cloth and just kind of wipe it down real quick to make sure those are off before I send in for grading. But I mean, that looks really good. I'm definitely going to send this one in. So that is one card we've got for the pile. And now the next cards we'll go through a little quicker. I just wanted to kind of give a rundown there of what I'm looking for, but that's a 10. So we'll add that to the 10 pile. And another thing I do obviously is like, I would never send a card in a sleeve like this. Every time I get lots of cards, I put them in new sleeves. If I'm going to be grading them, I put them in a new clean sleeve. And honestly, if the sleeve is dirty and I'm just selling it raw, I'll put it in a new sleeve because I don't want anyone else to get a new card like in a dirty, gross penny sleeve. Anyway, we are on to number 2. We've got the Deoxys V-Star. I actually just graded this in a 10. If you want to take a peek at that video, that is a tag submission reveal. That was a really fun one. I had a lot of fun making that. But let's take a look at this. So it looks a little off center on the front. Top's a little heavy. Not sure if it's in that 55-45 range, but if you take a look, I mean, you can just see that the top, you know, compare that to the right side, right? Like it's obviously, there's a miscalculation right there. The right is much thinner than the top. So that automatically red flag, right? Like this is off center in some way. So at that point, it's about determining, is it within the appropriate range? And, you know, I can see looking at right to left, just at a glance, you can see it's off center right to left as well. Not drastically, but, you know, again, is it within 55-45? You know, this corner down here looks pretty even, which is nice. Like looking at the left to the bottom, that looks good. You know, so I don't know. I would probably take a centering tool with this one, and I would make sure that it's within the parameters. Again, I can see that, like, if you look within the border of the card as well, you can see sometimes it's like the card itself is a little tilted, and this one looks like the left side is a little tilted down. Because if you come up to the top, if you look at the left side of the top border, it looks like it's a little wider than the right side of the top border. So that also is a red flag for centering too. Now, I've definitely sent in cards that are a little tilted, but they're all within the parameters of 55-45 centering, and they've been fine.
but I would definitely take a centering tool to this one. So I'll probably do that. And another thing that I'm seeing, and I want to try to get this on camera, but like if you look like right here, there's like a print line going down this thing. So I think I've captured it. I'm looking at the camera right here. So if I didn't, let me know, but it looks like there's like a print line like right above that goes down through the R. And you can see it like right there, I think, like right here. So, you know, again, kind of another defect. So at this point, I can already tell you I'm leaning towards not grading this. But let's keep going just to see. It is an awesome card. It does have a good premium and a 10 just based on, you know, what it costs. Back, you know, surface looks really good. Like no dents, no dings, nothing like that. You know, corners looking good, you know, no whitening or anything like that. So everything else on the back looks good. Then the centering, like, you know, off center obviously, but as I said, you know, you're not as harsh on the back. So back looks good. This one I'm leaning towards not doing this. Honestly, if I find that the centering's all within the parameters, I might just take a risk, right? Like I've said before, I'll risk it. I love taking a chance on a card, and when it comes back a 10, it feels good. But more often than not, it doesn't. So keep that in mind if you're, you know, trying to maybe decide whether to send something in or not. Yeah, it feels great when it happens. It just doesn't happen as much as you'd probably like. Third card we've got is Zero Aura V-Star, and you know, off the bat, centering looks pretty good. It's a tiny bit wider on the right, I want to say. But that being said, I'm not super concerned. It looks like it'd still be within 55-45. You know, the corners, like that looks pretty good for the most part in terms of, you know, top being equal to right, and then same with the bottom. And on any other type of card, you would want to do that with every corner, but obviously these V-Star cards, like there's obstruction right here, so I just have those two corners to work off of. But looking at that, I mean, looks pretty good so far. You know, surface looks good. I'm not seeing anything on the surface, so I'm good with that. Go to the back. Back's looking good. You can see it's just very smooth again. Like usually you can tell just with some good lighting whether there's a dent or a pinhole or something like that, but this looks really good. I'm very happy with the back. Yeah, and then we've got the corners, like, again, looking good. So with that, I think we'll probably send this one in too. And another thing, like, it's also sort of like when it comes to taking a chance on something that maybe you're not sure about, you've got to look at the premium that a Gem Mint 10 gets, right? Like that card, this Zero Aura, if this was a 9, and I knew maybe this was going to be a 9, I wouldn't send it in, because this card, you know, only goes for like 80, 90 in a 10, and that's generous. But like this card right here, right, this Deoxys, this is a cheaper card, but I just graded one in a 10 and sold it for $150. So I made over $100 after fees grading this card in a 10. So that's another thing to consider when you're looking at maybe taking a chance, is just what's the possible benefit from it. But I love this Deoxys from Crown Zenith. As you can see, a lot of Crown Zenith so far. I like to grade Crown Zenith. I've found that it's in good print quality generally. That's another thing. If a set's good print quality, usually overall, I'm fine with grading it. I'll take the chance sometimes as well. Yeah, this thing, little left heavy on the centering, I want to say, but also not terrible. You know, the top corner ratio's good, bottom corner ratio's good over here, but as you can see, it's a little uneven over here because this left side, you know, this thing's tilted down a little to the right as well. But it's really not terribly centered. Those are just some minor things. So I think, well, you know, I'd probably use a centering tool on this, but, you know, surface looks good too. No print lines, you know, on these flat art rares, Galarian galleries, whatever, variety of names for them. You also want to check for print lines. Like I know 151 art rares have in Scarlet and Violet in general, they've got a bunch of print lines on art rares, right? So that's another thing you want to check for. Back, Looking good. You know, a lot of these are just really, really good on the back. The surface looks really nice. I feel good about that. You know, edges. And I didn't go through the edges too much on those other ones because they look really clean, honestly. And you can tell, I think edges, I can tell probably the easiest just by looking at a card and handling it. So that's probably the one that I look at the least. I do find that the edges fray more on these types of cards too. Like I showed you that Charizard that had like, you know, a full head of hair on it. That, like all of those, these art rares, I don't know what it is. I don't know what they cut them with differently, but I just don't see it on textured cards. So another thing, you can check all of them. That doesn't hurt. That's just something I do personally, but this looks pretty good on the edges. There is, you know, you can see right here, this one's got some whitening, right? It's got that white dot in the corner, and I feel like that is an automatic 9 right there. So we're not going to grade this one. In my experience with grading, really any company, I've graded PGA, PSA, CGC, and Tag. That white dot seems to be the killer, except for CGC. They're a little more lenient on it, just on the back overall, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, let me know down low if that's an egregious statement, because I don't want to be out here making those, but that's just my experience. But I'm going to disqualify that just based on that. So we've got the Blaziken VMAX, and this is an interesting one too, because these VMAX, like the bottom border right here, you can't see the top. So you're already kind of at a disadvantage when it comes to evaluating centering. So it's really important to use this corner to tell the left and bottom to see that ratio, because that's going to be a huge indicator when a lot of your border is blocked off from artwork. And that looks really good, but I can see that, like, I don't know. I mean, actually it looks pretty well centered. I think the right might be a little wider. I don't know. Actually, I think it might be pretty well centered. All right, so my camera overheated as we were looking at Blaziken, so sorry about that. The quick edit, but we are back. Yeah, so the centering on this looks good, and I feel like the front's probably good to go. So let's take a look at this back. And the back again, like, I mean, back looks flat. I'm not seeing any indents. Ooh, I am seeing, so I don't know if you can see this. It looks like there is some kind of line going down, but it looks like it's coming off. So it looks like there was just some sort of mark on here, some kind of residue, maybe water, that just kind of left like a thin, dry line on it. So as you can see, I kind of was able to get it off with my finger. So, but now it's got, you know, finger oils on it. So I'll have to wipe that off to make sure it's clean, but back looks good. Centering on the back looks good. And the corners look, corners look pretty good. So I think this, like, I will want to make sure the back is actually completely good to go, like after I wipe it off with a cloth, but I think this is a good one. I think we've got another 10 contender. So put that in the 10 pile. Let's move on again. We've got Rayquaza VMAX, Silver Tempest Trainer Gallery, and I remember I pulled this card when I was ripping a bunch of Silver Tempest, and I was a little newer, and I thought, like, dude, this thing's got to do numbers one day, but I'm still waiting for that day. Anyway, love the look of these. This is different because this has a very sheen, like, flat front, so you can see those indents a little easier if they do have any than the standard textured cards. But this looks pretty good. As you can see, it's got a nice reflection, which actually makes it really easy to point those defects out. But that looks really good. Centering, I want to say it's a little left heavy maybe, but like it might be within those parameters. So I'd probably use a centering tool once again, especially if I'm sending to like PSA or Tag, because I feel like the centering on the front is really big with those two places. So looks good though. I mean, I'm not seeing anything, edges look good. I'm not seeing any dents or anything like that. And that's another thing too. Like sometimes you might have like a little dent right there or anything that you can identify on the edge, but I'm not seeing anything there. Take a look at the back. Another clean one. I mean, again, centering's not good, but that is not going to be really a huge problem unless it is like egregious. And even then, I've gotten 10s from PSA and Tag with some pretty. What am I saying? Some pretty rough centering on the back. So definitely something that can happen. I personally just don't worry about it that much anymore, if I'm being honest. And if it gets a 9, it gets a 9. I've said it before. I'll put some 9s out there. I'm happy to put some 9s into the world. Get people slabs of cool cards and they don't have to, you know, burn their wallet for it. But corners look good on this. I'm going to go ahead and give this a 10 contender as well. And, you know, like I've said, I'm not exactly the best grader in the world. I do have probably a 60 to 70% gem rate, I would say. I like taking chances, though, and that lowers it. But I'm curious. Let me know what you think of what I've selected so far. Any of these you think were 9s? Any of the 9s or below that you think might have been 10s? Like, leave a comment. Let me know. I'd love to get some feedback. Snorlax, Lost Origin, Trainer Gallery. Awesome card. Looks like a little top heavy. That's what I'm seeing off the rip. We're a little top heavy. I'd probably use a centering tool because I think this one's probably a little out of the parameters when it comes to that centering. But it doesn't look like I'm seeing any print lines here. That's good. These are where I see print lines a lot more. Not so much on the Sword and Shield versions of these cards, but definitely on the Scarlet Violet. So happy with that. Back looks good. Back looks good. Corners. So as you can see, it looks like there's like just a little, I don't know how to describe it, like lift on the corners, I think from the cut. And I see that you'll see this on cards sometimes. And I don't really think it impacts the grades that much. I've sent in plenty of cards that look like that on the back, and I've gotten 10s. I feel like it's really only those white dots that really drop the grade. So this, I'm going to do a maybe on that, just because I think I need to take a further look at the centering on that with a centering tool. But we've just got a couple cards left, so I'm not going to go too long on these. Beautiful Mew from Crown Zenith Galarian Gallery. One of the coolest cards in the set, honestly. I graded this in a 10. You know, I remember ripping a bunch. I just had some laying around. I graded one in a 10, sold it for 200 plus earlier this year. So a good card to grade if you can. Definitely a good premium on it. Right heavy for sure though. So the right heavy, it's definitely right heavy. And I think automatically, just based on what I'm seeing and having sent in cards that have this kind of difference in centering, this is getting a 9. So I'm probably not going to see, yeah. And then it's got a white dot right there. So that's going to be a no. I'm not going to take any more time on that. When you know, you know, and you just got to cut your losses right there. So I shouldn't even say cut my losses, because this is honestly a pretty good bit to grade so far. So another Mew, and you know, I think we've got another one after this, but again, right centering is just a little heavy on the right. I don't think it's as heavy as the last one, but it's not as heavy as the last one, but I'd probably use a centering tool on this. So right now I'm leaning maybe, because I also feel like the bottom's a little heavier too. So looks good though. Flat surface. You know, no issues with print lines. Back. Down there maybe. You can see it's a little white. Got like a little bump right here on the cut too. Trying to, yeah, you can see that. It's just a little bumpy. Oh yeah, and then up here, you can see there's like just a little like kind of defect right there. Yeah, this one's probably a no. I think that's just got a little too much to get a 10. So we're gonna put that one aside. And we've got one more Mew. Centering, it's a little crooked, it looks like. And I think this edge is kind of frayed a little bit on the left. Not terrible, just a tiny bit. Like I said, I don't know if you can see. It just looks like it's I don't know. It looks a little frayed maybe, but I don't know if it's enough to really like warrant a 9. Centering, when you take a glance at it, looks pretty solid. I'm not seeing anything. Not seeing any like indents or anything like that, any print lines, so that's good. Ooh, is that a scratch? It looks like there might be a scratch too. I don't know if you can see it. These are kind of hard to get on the camera, but there's like a, looks like a scratch, like going through the Pokeball vertical. So that might be a problem. And then it looks like we've just got like some whitening up in that corner, you know, down here. Actually, it's, yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, this might be a tough one too. I don't know about that one, honestly, because the premium on these is good. I'll probably take a deeper dive on all of these, just like and I mean that with like centering especially, but then really taking a close look at like the edges on the back, because the premium on these is really good. So I think they're worth a second look, and that's kind of what I'm saying. I'll take a chance on 1 or 2 of those, I bet, because the premium.
Well, my camera overheated again. Apparently, I should not use a USB cable to power it while I am recording. So, learned something new today, and you know that's what I really enjoy about doing this. Is I'm just learning. I'm learning a lot. So, yeah, we're gonna cut it at that Mew. There was 1 card left. It was a Glaceon V-Star from the Galarian Gallery. White dot at the bottom. Not sending that in. So, out of all of those cards, we've got 4 like true 10 contenders, I believe, and then obviously I'm probably going to send in at least 2 of those Mews, so you know we'll be sending in about half the cards I got from that. I got a bunch more here that I got to go through too, but this video is already way too long, so I'll save you that. But let me know down below, did you get something out of this video in terms of pre-grading? Is there anything that I do that maybe you don't? And did I miss anything? Is there anything that in my pre-grading process I need to be looking out for? I'm always willing to learn, so I'd love to know your thoughts below. Leave a comment and make sure you like and subscribe for more of this type of content. I'm looking forward to making more videos and putting them out there and just interacting with everybody. So that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you on the next one. Peace.